Hello everyone, Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Tuesday. I hope the week it started well wherever you are watching or listening to this around the world. Hope you enjoyed the football last night. Wasn't exactly a thriller, either game, to be fair, but still two of probably the most fancy teams ending up scraping through. France just edging it against Belgium. What a performance by William Saliba, by the way. We'll be talking about that a little bit later on in this show. Leandro Trossard heading home after Belgium were knocked out of Portugal, getting through in what turned out to be the Ronaldo show. But Portugal did manage to get through despite Ronaldo missing a penalty in extra time. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in the show, but plenty to discuss. We're going to talk about Riccardo Calafiori, and I've got a little bit more information on Arsenal's interest in him this summer. Got comments and questions from you. Got a big new summer sign-in for the Arsenal women to talk about as well. So plenty to get stuck into today. And we'll start with Calafiori, shall we? He's a player who's been linked with Arsenal quite a bit in the last week or so, couple of weeks. Obviously, been put himself right into the shop window with his performances at the Euros for Italy. What was a really disappointing tournament, really, for the Italian, who were the reigning champions going into the tournament, but surrendered pretty meekly to Switzerland in that last 16 game. Calafiori was one of the standout players, if not the shining light for the Italians at the tournament. Really impressed with his performances for them. And Arsenal are interested in Calafiori. The interest is there and it has been made known. But, and there's always a but when it comes to transfer stories in this, you always got to caveat it with some things. It's not going to be an easy one for Arsenal to get done. It's certainly one to keep an eye on. I'm not going to sit here right now and rule out the possibility of Arsenal signing Calafiori. As I said, my information is that they are absolutely interested in him. And so it is one to keep an eye on. But there are going to be some difficulties in that. I mean, Aaron, who seems to be a very big Calafiori fan because he's asked me a few questions on him, has got in touch on it again. He said, I'm sure you've seen Bologna president speaking publicly that they want to keep Calafiori, but if a good offer comes in, they will let him go. And they don't think Juventus will be his destination. I mean, we have a good relationship with Bologna since the Tomiyasu deal. The more I think about it, if we can persuade the player, we might be able to bring him out of Italy. Such an obvious thing, but that is the case here. Bologna's stance seems like no to Juventus, but welcoming offers from abroad. We also have the Italian captain, Jorginho, who can help. Maybe Jorginho can well help in that, Aaron. I spoke about it before when I was talking about Calafiori, and this story does remind me. I just immediately go back to the Locatelli summer when Arsenal were interested in Locatelli, just as like now they're interested in Calafiori. But Arsenal were aware in that summer that they were unlikely to get to get Locatelli done because they knew that his preference was Juventus. They know how difficult it is sometimes to lure Italians out of Italy to go and play abroad, and a move to Juventus is always a very, very appealing option for an Italian international. And now there are certainly suggestions, again, that Calafiori's preference right now is to go to Juventus, that even personal terms have already been agreed with Juventus. But as you point out, Aaron, there is a bit of animosity between Bologna and between Juventus because Juventus have just taken Thiago Motta away from Bologna, and Bologna aren't very keen to do any business with Juventus when it comes to Calafiori. So that might work to Arsenal's advantage. But there are other Premier League clubs, as far as I'm aware, interested in Calafiori. It's not just Arsenal. So there is widespread interest from him. Now, for Bologna, although right now the stance seems to be we're not going to sell to Juventus, I'm always a bit sceptical of that. Again, when you go back to Locatelli, they were at the time. Was he at Fiorentina? I can't even remember now. I think he was at Fiorentina, wasn't he? No, I can't remember where Locatelli was from, but the club that he was at were very happy to have Arsenal's interest in him known because that is just going to strengthen their hands when it comes to negotiations with Juventus. And although Bologna right now seem to be very publicly stating that they're not really interested in talking to Juventus, I'd be surprised if that's the case. I think they will be very happy that interest from Arsenal and Chelsea and other clubs is out there because that's just going to strengthen their bargaining position if they do eventually enter into talks with Juve. So I think right now it's definitely one to look out for. I also think, though, that Arsenal are probably going to need to sell. If they were to have a chance of signing Calafiori, if the indications were that he wanted to join and, the money was going to be right and Bologna were happy to go into a deal, I think Arsenal would probably need to move someone on. When you look at the players they've already got in that position who can play in the similar areas to Calafiori, they're pretty well stacked. So I'd imagine someone would have to go, and you would say that person would probably end up being Jakub Kiwior. The issue there is Jakub Kiwior won't be, Arsenal would demand a good price for Jakub Kiwior. We know there's interest from Italian clubs in Kiwior. Milan have long been interested, and there are other clubs interested in him as well. Whether they can get to the sort of money that Arsenal would want for Kiwior, though, is another question. Arsenal spent big on Kiwior to bring him in from Spezia. He's done very, very well. Had a really impressive season last season, especially in the second half of the season. So Arsenal can't be giving him away. They need to get their money back on him at least, you would think. It should be more because he's improved drastically under Mikel Arteta. So, and I'd just be very surprised if Calafiori were to come in and no one were to go out. Obviously, Zinchenko is a possibility of leaving as well, but there hasn't been any sort of bids come in for him yet. So I think there's a lot of work to be done for this deal for Calafiori to actually happen. But it is one to keep an eye on. It's one to see how it progresses over the course of the summer. And I think we're going to see it sort of run a little bit. But yeah, could be an exciting signing, 100%. From what we've seen from him, and I have to admit, I'd seen very little before the Euros of him, but there's no doubt that what he showed at the Euros is he's a very, very good young player. He ticks a lot of the boxes when it comes to Arsenal. Obviously plays in that left centre-back role or left-back role. He's only just turned 22, so he's the perfect profile for the type of signing that Arsenal like to bring in. Looks very good on the ball. He's physically strong. He's 6'2". He does tick all the boxes when it comes to a potential Arsenal signing under Mikel Arteta and Edu. So one to keep an eye on. Let me know your thoughts on it down below. Would you be excited by this signing? Do you think it's the type of player that Arsenal need right now? Let me know anything you want to discuss when it comes to the potential capture of Riccardo Calafiori down in the comments below. Oh, already done that question, haven't I, Aaron? Right, let's move on to David Raya now. There's been lots of talk in the last 24 hours or so about Arsenal activating a release clause for David Raya. Look, this is no surprise. Obviously, it was already done. This has been something that's been agreed for a year or so. The only thing that was going to stop this happening was some sort of injury to David Raya. It was always a case of when, not if, that he would be confirmed as a permanent Arsenal player. I mean, you just have to look on the website. He's a loan, he's a loan player. That loan has effectively already run out with Brentford. Yeah, he's listed on the Arsenal squad list. He's wearing next season's Arsenal kit in the picture on the Arsenal website, in the Arsenal squad list. It's not treated like a usual loan player. He's treated like a permanent Arsenal player because he is one. It was just going to be, it was always going to happen. And I'm just waiting for the confirmation. I'd actually heard that it was going to be confirmed in June. That obviously hasn't happened. But yeah, it's they're just waiting for the confirmation to announce the confirmation because Brentford know it's done, Arsenal know it's done, David Raya knows it's done. He is an Arsenal player. It's just waiting on that news story to go out on Arsenal.com to confirm the arrival. Obviously, he's at the Euros at the moment, so it might be that we have to wait until the end of the Euros when he comes back for anything to happen. But I don't really see why you'd have to wait that long because he's already been here for a year. It's not like you have to have some big sort of grand unveiling on it. So we're just waiting for the confirmation, but no doubt he is going to come. Elsewhere, there's not really too much going on transfer-wise. Sambi Lokonga talks with Sevilla, certainly ongoing there to try and get a deal done for him, whether that be permanent or a loan deal. Not so sure at the moment. I think Sevilla certainly want it to be a loan. Arsenal would prefer to be a permanent, but if it is going to be loan, they would want some sort of obligation to buy. So all the details are still being sorted out in terms of that, but that is a transfer that's rumbling on. I wouldn't be surprised if it does get done, but nothing is sorted yet when it comes to Lokonga and Sevilla. William Saliba. I mean, I begin to run out of superlatives for William Saliba. It's remarkable, really, that going into this tournament, it didn't look like he was going to be a starter for France. Deschamps had obviously publicly had a go at him more than once. It's some really surprising comments from Deschamps. And, going into the tournament, like I said, it looked like it was going to be Konate and Upamecano at centre-back for France. Saliba muscled his way in just before the start of the tournament. Has been absolutely immense for him. He was fantastic yesterday in that game against Belgium. As Andrew says here, Saliba might not be at the fitness camp, but he's got his exercise today, running around with a 100-kilo Belgian in his pocket. Hilarious how Lukaku wouldn't even go on his side of the field later in the match. So clear with the strength of the French defence is. He and Theo work very, very well together. Yeah, they do. The one mistake Saliba made in that second half where he sort of gave away possession, Theo Hernandez's recovery pace to get back and block the shot was absolutely fantastic. So the pair of them down that sort of left-hand side of the French defence were very, very good. But Saliba was just superb. He really, really was. It's quality on the ball. I honestly think he's the best centre-back in the world. I really, really do. I think he's the best centre-back in the world right now. Closely followed by the other centre-back who Arsenal have on their books at the moment in Gabriel Magalhaes. I mean, there's obviously, you've got your Virgil van Dijks, you've got players like that. Antonio Rudiger has been fantastic for Madrid, for Germany of late. But there is no centre-back I would rather have in world football at Arsenal than William Saliba. I genuinely think he's the best defender in the world, best centre-back in the world. I honestly do. And if he's not, and everyone, it's all opinion, obviously, and other people have had other opinions, but if he's not, I think you could not argue that he's in the top 3 centre-backs in the world. He's just that good, and he's going to get better and better and better. It's fantastic to watch. And, France haven't been great at this Euros. I didn't think they were great yesterday against Belgium at all. But when you've got a defence that clearly is as strong as France right now, with Saliba at the heart of it, then you're going to be incredibly difficult to beat. And even if you're not firing attack, which France are, I mean, they've just not even scored a goal from open play yet because there was an own goal again yesterday that ended up deciding it for them. So when you're not firing in attack like they are, as long as you've got a watertight defence, which they do at the moment, then they have got a really good chance. I mean, the quarterfinals we've got coming up are absolutely superb, aren't they? Brilliant. Spain versus Germany, and then France versus Portugal. Going to be absolutely fantastic to watch those games as a neutral. Really, really looking forward to it. But Saliba, just sensational once again. Okay, other news from Arsenal before we start to look at some of your questions and comments. The third game of the tour has now been confirmed. We've been waiting for it. Always knew it was going to be Bournemouth, but that has now been confirmed. They're going to play the Bournemouth game. First game of the tour for Arsenal. It's going to be at Dignity Health Sports Park, of course, the home of the LA Galaxy. And that's going to be 7:30 p.m. local time on July the 24th. Arsenal then playing Man United and Liverpool, of course, at the tour before coming back to England for the Emirates Cup. So pre-season now all announced, unless there's going to be a couple of sort of behind closed doors games, which there might be at some point. But we know Arsenal's games in pre-season. That'll be a really exciting tour. I mean, USA Guna has got in touch, says, I currently have tickets to the USA tour game against Liverpool in late July. What are the chances the players on international duty for Euros and Copa make it to the games in LA and Philadelphia? The tickets were not cheap, and my son would be devastated if the likes of Saka, Rice and Havertz aren't there. It's impossible for me to really answer it right now. I have to say, USA Guna, it just depends on how these players progress in the tournaments that they are. If England get to the final, I think it's very unlikely, I'm afraid to say, that you'll see Saka and Rice at the US tour. I think they'll meet up with Arsenal for the Emirates Cup games. After that, I think it's the same if Germany get to the final with Havertz. If Brazil go all the way to the final in Copa America and Martinelli and Gabriel get there, then again, I think it's very, very unlikely that they make them, because the club will give them the time off that they're going to need. They're not going to have had much time off at all since the end of last season. Had probably a week or so before then linking up with their national teams ahead of the summer tournaments. They're going to want to give them at least 2-3 weeks off before they start to prepare for the new season. And as much as they would love to have everyone on tour in the USA, they are going to absolutely give the players as much time as they need to get themselves ready. So I think it all depends on how far they get. But yeah, I'm afraid to say, if they do go really far deep into the tournament, then I think it's probably unlikely that you see them on the US tour. But you never know. We'll have to wait and see. And fingers crossed you do, and your son and yourself get to see all the Arsenal players that you want to see while you are over there watching the games. Okay, big news for Arsenal women today. Mariana Caldentey has signed for Arsenal. We knew it was in the sort of offing of happening. It has now just been announced. Arriving from Barcelona, just arrives with a glittering CV packed full of major honours won, both at international level and at club level with Barcelona. Obviously, comes in as in the summer that Vivian Miedema has gone. It looks like Miedema is going to sign for Manchester City as well. She says, I'm so happy to be here. This is the right time for a new challenge for me, and Arsenal is the perfect place. I think what Arsenal are doing as a club is amazing on and off the pitch. I love the way we want to play as a team, and I think there's a strong mentality building here. It's been incredible to see what the club has done away from the pitch, with supporters following the team everywhere and lots of records being broken. I can't wait to get started and help the team win trophies and entertain our supporters. I mean, she just comes from with a wealth of experience, real quality on the ball. We know that Arsenal sort of struggled at times last season to break down a low block in some of the WSL games, and you imagine that someone like Caldentey with her quality in and around the final third will certainly help with that. So a big boost for Arsenal getting that deal over the line. But yeah, it does look like Miedema is going to be playing at Manchester City, which was always the sort of thought when it was announced she was going to be leaving Arsenal when her contract wasn't renewed. And it looks like Manchester City are going to pick her up as well. So some big news happening in the women's game. Here's one from Norris who says, can any Emirates Stadium regulars help? I've got my family tickets to our first match at the Emirates Cup next month. Is there any chance of getting parking anywhere in and around the area? Or are we better getting the train from the edge of London? Well, Norris, I can only give my opinion on that, but I would be saying 100% get the train. I always get the train up in and around the ground. It's just a nightmare on match day parking. It's just very, so obviously you get some private car parking options, which are there. You can pay some money, normally quite a large chunk of money to park in these options, but it's just a nightmare getting in and around the ground. All the street parking is unavailable on a match day because of parking restrictions from the council. It's just not worth the hassle. The train, it's so easy to get the train. Just park on the outskirts of London if that's what you're planning to do. Get the train in and come to Holloway Road, come to Arsenal, Finsbury Park, Highbury and Islington, whatever it is. And it's just the best way for you to get in and out of the ground. I have to say, driving is just a bit of a hassle, and it's not much fun. So I would get the train if I were you. Okay, that's it from me, everyone, for today. Thank you very much for your time. As always, anything I've discussed in the show that you want me that you want to sort of comment on or give your opinion on, then please do get down into the comments below and do exactly that. I'll be back tomorrow to do it all over again. I'll be reacting to some of what you've had to say as always. So you've got any questions as well that you want answered, get them into the show. Also, to all of you guys who won the shirts, I've got them now. I just need to get down to the post office and get them all sent out. I was planning on doing that today, but unfortunately my son is not very well and he's off school. He's in the room just over there. I can't really drag him down into the town when he's not very well and stand at the post office for ages while I'm sending these shirts off around the world, because I know it's going to take me ages and everyone in the queue behind me is going to hate me while I'm doing it. But I do have the shirts now, so they are going to be getting sent out to you. So just a little bit more patience needed, and they are going to be winging their way to you very, very soon. Right. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll be back tomorrow to do it all over again. Till then, see you later. Bye-bye.